So picking a rest of the world Super Rugby team. If you guys have been watching my videos for a while now, you know I've done this for North Island, South Island, New South Wales, rest of Australia, coastal versus inland South Africa. The last one I'll do of these for a while anyway is kind of a rest of the world team. So nobody from South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, or also Argentina or Japan, because, you know, Jaguares and Sunwolves are made up of half of those players anyway. So yeah, all other countries, aside from those kind of main five. See how we go. And yes, they have to be playing Super Rugby at the moment. They're under a contract for Super Rugby, and it's based on where they're born or where they're raised. So like some of these guys may have gone to school or were raised in other countries, but just looking at purely where they were born. So start with the loose head. He's got a long name, so I'm going to write just his nickname. I'm going to go with Beastum Tawera. You know, he's 32. He's born in Zimbabwe. I remember many years ago there was kind of a slight controversy about his Springbok eligibility, but yeah, that all got sorted out, and he's played a ton of games for the Boks now. He's criticised in the last few years for kind of being off form, but I still think he's a pretty class loose head, and no problems putting him in this team. Next, from the Sunwolves, Brigvadze. So yeah, he's the Georgian hooker, Jaba Brigvadze, as I said, from Georgia. The Georgians are renowned for their scrummaging, so having a Georgian front rower is definitely a plus. Also, I think he's probably the only hooker in the comp who's not from one of those five main countries, so I don't have a whole lot of choices with this, but yeah, he's played in Europe, he's played in France, he's played in England. He's looked alright in Super Rugby so far. He's got almost 50 caps for Georgia, so again, no real complaints about this one. I'm pretty satisfied with that pick. He's not Malcolm Marx, but he's pretty solid. Next, from the Reds, I've gone with Tongan Thor, Taniela Tupou. So he's still pretty young compared to these other guys. He's 21. You know, he's 135 kilos, born in Tonga. He's just a very large and powerful runner. His scrummaging is getting a lot better, so he has the potential to be possibly the best tight head in World Rugby. Given that, yeah, he's not going to be at his peak for another 5+ years. It's a pretty mean looking front row. I mean, you've got a guy nicknamed Thor, a guy nicknamed Beast, and I don't know what Brigvadze's nickname is, but his first name is Jabba. So if you're a Star Wars fan, at least there's a reference there. So yeah, pretty decent. Next, in the locks, I've gone for Tyler Ardron from the Chiefs. He's Canadian. He's 26. He's primarily a loose forward, but the Chiefs have been deploying him in the second row. And whilst he's not the tallest, he is a dynamic and skilled player. I think when the season started, there was perhaps a risk of him just being kind of a squad player, shuffled in and out. But due to the Chiefs' injuries and his performances, he's really put his hand up to be starting most games. So yeah, very, very class player, and no problems at all having him in there. And in his locking partner, I have gone with Jeff Parling from the Rebels. So he's from England, he's 34, he is a proper lock. So unlike Ardron, who's kind of this slightly shorter, loose forward, skilled, dynamic ball running character, Parling is a very traditional lock. You know, he's about 2 meters tall. He jumps, he runs straight and takes the ball into contact. He's not really like an offload king, but you know, he's played for England, he's played for the British and Irish Lions. I think with Ardron they make a pretty decent little pair with the different skills they bring. On the blind side, I have gone with Jerome Kaino. Kind of at his peak, you know, he was the the premier blindside in World Rugby. I think we'd probably all agree at 35, he's not as dynamic and as effective as he used to be, but he's still a guy that, you know, I'm not going to have doubts about putting in the team. The guy's got 2 World Cups for a reason. Born in American Samoa, so yeah, it definitely adds a bit of size to this second row. I think he's actually taller than Tyler Ardron. Next, at number 8, I have gone with Amanaki Mafi from the Rebels. So Japanese international, but born in Tonga, 28 years old, and much like Tyler Ardron, he is just a real handful to watch. He's always doing something. He runs the ball so well. He always chalks up a whole lot of meters. Yeah, he's going to make the opposition have to, you know, be on their game to handle what he's putting out anyway. Yeah, and on the open side, I have gone with David Pocock from the Brumbies. So he's another guy born in Zimbabwe. He's 30. He is one of the best turnover artists in the business. He's looked pretty good since he's kind of come back from his injury. If he can stay injury-free, he's definitely one of the best players in World Rugby. He's just always loitering there and such a danger. You know, he's probably a guy you're better off running into to be tackled by, because if you get tackled and he's nearby, he's just going to be straight over that ball. So, I mean, you look at Mafi, Pocock, and Kaino, it's a very good balance of like a turnover specialist, a big ball runner, and just a skills machine. So, yeah, good. I think there's kind of good combinations all across these, you know, front row, second row, and the loosies. Right, into the backs. Scrum half, I have gone with Will Guinea. So he's 30, born in Papua New Guinea. He's had a bit of a renaissance in his career since coming back to the Rebels. Like, there was a time, not that long ago, when I can remember the All Blacks playing the Wallabies, and the main thing being said in New Zealand was that, you know, we just don't have a halfback like Guinea. I think it was probably when Weepu was still playing. And yeah, we just looked across the ditch with envy because we had nobody who could do anything like him. Since then, things have changed a bit. Guinea didn't quite maintain that kind of best scrum half in World Rugby title. I mean, obviously he got a bit older, but yeah, since he left the Reds, went to Europe, and then came back to the Rebels, he's really looked to be back to his kind of old self. So long may that continue. He's having a good run, and I'm pretty happy to have him in this team. Now, 10 was hard because there weren't many choices. I think 2 from memory of guys who were not, you know, Australian, New Zealand, South African, Japanese, or Argentinian who played 10. So I've ended up with probably not the most inspiring pick at 10 in Kyle Godwin. So he's born in Zimbabwe, he's 25. He hasn't played 10 for a very long time. I know he used to play 10 at under 20s, and he was all right. And then when he moved to the Force, he was touted as kind of either a 10 or an inside centre, and he ended up just being in the midfield. I can't find any footage of it, but I vaguely remember seeing him play 10 one game for the Force and being pretty bad. At least from the kicking tee, I seem to remember his kicks just being atrocious. But I can't, with any real clarity or conviction, remember that. But he can play 10. He's got a wealth of Super Rugby experience. I feel like with the guys around him, especially Guinea in front of him, you know, he doesn't have to be the world's best 10 to still do a job. Right, into the midfield, I've gone with Samu Karevi. So, you know, from Fiji, he's only 24, which is surprising given how much of an impact he's had on the Reds. It seems like he's been around for longer. He is just kind of a tackle bust king. and his all-round game is improving as well. But if you need a guy to get you over the advantage line or need a guy to score from 5 meters out, I think he's your man. And yeah, if I've got any doubts about having Godwin there, having Guinea inside and Karevi outside him kind of puts me a bit more at ease. 13, another Fijian. I've gone for Seta Tamanivalu from the Crusaders. So he's versatile, he plays in the midfield or plays on the wing, but I got him at 13 here. He's 25, he's another dynamic kind of ball carrier. If you were the opposition looking at a team with Karevi and Tamanivalu running at you, you wouldn't be that kind of at ease, because you know you'd have some pretty rough tackles coming ahead of you. Next, on the left wing, I've gone with Marika Korobedi, so another Fijian, 25, league background, so he's got a different skill set that perhaps not all guys who were brought up playing union have, and he's played for the Wallabies. He's another guy who, if you want a guy to get you some go forward ball, if you need a guy to give you a bit of gas on the wing, you're not going to go too bad having Korobedi out there. And oh man, speaking of Fijian wingers, there's like an abundance, but I've gone with Waisake Naholo on the right wing. Fijian, 26, All Black. When he's fit, he's just such a dynamic ball runner and very good player. That's 4 Fijians in a row, but honestly, Karevi, Tamanivalu, Korobedi, and Naholo. It kind of gives a bit more credence to that thoughts that, you know, we should have a Pacific Island Super Rugby team. I know the financials are always the sticking point, but in terms of player talent, man, that's a pretty sweet lineup. Not that any of these guys play for the country of their birth, which is kind of I guess the way things are in rugby. And lastly, I've gone with Aiden Toa from the Reds. To be honest, I never used to be a fan of his when he was playing at the Brumbies. I thought he was pretty rubbish. But he seems to be under different instructions at the Reds. I feel like his kicking game's a bit better, and I've seen him run the ball a bit more. So, yeah, I've been impressed with him. When they first signed him, because Carmichael Hunt got into his legal woes, I was thinking this is a step back for Brad Thorne, but to his credit, I think he's got him on the right track. He's 28. He's been impressive at the Reds, and yeah, he's not going to disgrace this team from Papua New Guinea. So yeah, that's the team. This was one of the most fun to pick because there's such a variety. So I got 4 Fijians, 3 Zimbabweans, 2 from Papua New Guinea, 2 from Tonga, and 4 countries have 1 representative. So yeah, definitely a good mix. Pacific Island influence for sure. But yeah, what do you guys reckon? Like I said, I've done some other teams. I'm not sure how many of them are better than this one, because this one looks pretty good. I still have concerns about 10, but as I said before, the players around 10 will make that better. I mean, you look, Debrasini is not the best 10 in the world, but Guinea makes him better than he probably is. Just my thoughts, but yeah, I think you could do the same here. So yeah, that's my team. Let me know your thoughts, and yes, I'll talk to you again for a preview of the upcoming games probably tomorrow. All right, I'll see you later.